Welcome to the Fat Cats Rugby podcast, bringing you candid rugby conversations, great interviews and insights into Ugandan rugby, and a touch of rugby in Africa and the world over. Fat Cats Rugby podcast is a product of Fat Cats Media brand for all your audio-visual content needs and equipment hire. Hope you enjoy this episode.
It's not a luxury, you know. In the past, the nature of the game was a luxury because you're a volunteer. You can afford to come the way you want to be dressed, whether you are 100% sober or not, and no one will chase you away from committing to that role. Now, medical, what we do is we pay insurance. There's insurance for the game, but there's insurance for every fan that appears on that ground.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a screenshot for you as well from NBS Sports on that.
Oh, account how it was raised. So now we also have to account how we raise the money.
How it was raised and how it was
Exactly,
utilized.
how it was raised.
Apparently it is government money. That one you should tell the funds.
I said it would cost us about 4 billion.
The person said, how many chapatis can you finish?
I don't know what he means by chapatis. Chapati is what? Is it wheat or maize?
Chapati.
It's made out of what? Wheat.
Yes.
It will not happen. It won't happen.
It won't happen.
No. They have asked me several times. They keep saying it. Maybe they are trying me. They are trying to see if I have the plan, but no. I'm not at the level where even World Rugby, you don't find all unions. Now Africa, we have two votes. South Africa has 3. You know, they separate South Africa from Africa.
And yet another opportunity to have candid rugby conversations here at the Fat Cats podcast with a very, very distinguished guest as we continue to unravel with the facts and everything that has been going around in rugby in Uganda. It's our responsibility, of course, to try and bring as many of these facts to the people and make sure that they are engaging from an informed point of view. And this is his second time, ideally, on the podcast, our guest for today, and a very distinguished one that has been really part of this game for quite a while. We are, of course, with the Uganda Rugby Union President, Mr. Godwin Kayangwe. Welcome to another episode of the Fat Cats podcast.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I don't know if you've been keeping tabs with what we have been doing, but is there anything that has particularly caught your eye with what the Fat Cats have been up to?
Well, I know you've been doing a lot. You've been everywhere, mostly covering games and the news events that are happening in rugby and reporting. So, yeah, I should say you've been really busy and doing a good job putting the game out there for the public to know what's going on.
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot to talk about. But before we get into all the craziness of what's been happening or even the good things that have really been going around for the past few months, first, for the ordinary person that is there, who is Godwin? What does Godwin do? Because just people may just know in the capacity of being a rugby union president, but I'm sure there are different facets to who Godwin Kayangwe is.
Okay. Even the last time I was there, I think that question was asked and I answered it.
It's never bad to answer
it again. Yeah, so I'm a family man, married with a few children, big boys actually, at university level. I'm an IT professional, I'm a farmer, an entrepreneur, and with a very strong passion of sport, specifically rugby at this particular moment, which I've been serving for so many years. I think that sums me up.
Yeah, okay. Your rugby background, maybe did you play as well?
I played rugby in school and also for clubs. I played for Budo, Ntare, some little stint at Impis, but mainly Pirates for club rugby.
Okay, yeah. That is very, very interesting. So for the many that are shouting Pirates strong these days, these are the originals, or what they call the fossil fans.
Yeah.
It's been quite a busy start to the year, of course, with everything that has been happening. But let us first talk about the Uganda Rugby Union. What's the day or a week like in the URU's process of working?
So Uganda Rugby Union, and again, the trends on the social media and everything, people keep referring to the union, but do they understand what the union is?
Yes.
When you ask for questions, explanations, and you're saying union tell us,
Yes.
what are they referring to? Are they referring to COBs? Are they referring to pirates? Are they referring to the EXCOM? Are they referring to the HQ?
Yes.
So Uganda Rugby Union is a combination of everything.
Yeah.
The whole stakeholders of Uganda Rugby Union. So the day in Uganda Rugby Union is really ambiguous and hard to explain because you have all those facets, COBs, Heathens, all the clubs, Elgon Wolves, planning on how to sustain themselves, how to continue playing the sport that they love. You have people in administration that sit every day. They either have full-time jobs, that's the one we refer to as HQ. Those are full-time employees that sit every day to plan, execute, and ensure that they implement the strategy. Then you have the EXCOM, which is ideally supposed to be a board, and that meets once a month. But due to the nature of the game, because of the too much action, very fast growth, they tend to be a little bit operational. And maybe that is where we are getting this confusion, because you see them and you think that it's their full-time job, but it's not their full-time job. Who actually give oversight and guidance to the HQ that implements. So why I say that question is ambiguous, depending on who you referred to.
Okay.
But I've tried to break it down across the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just to get clarity, the EXCOM does not receive payment from the union.
No.
From rugby.
No, it doesn't.
Okay. So their role is merely voluntary.
It's actually a very confusing term,
Yeah.
as with times we've got to know. It's an executive committee.
Yeah.
So ideally, naturally, structured an executive committee is supposed to be working and paid.
Yes, because
You
it's
get
their
it?
time still.
Exactly.
Yes.
But in the nature of our EXCOM, it is appointed. Rather, it is elected, not even appointed. And normally, elected people are not, they are more like a board. A board is not paid, a board of governors or something. But it's an executive committee. But I think this came out of the nature of the sport and the growth of the sport, because in its amateur state then, and right now we are knocking on the door to get out of amateur to semi-pro, you tend to start prioritizing, increasing the gap between the operational nature of the EXCOM, actually make it a board, and give the HQ more powers, more empowerment to actually execute these day-to-day roles. The reason why the EXCOM is very involved now is because we are so few, even at the HQ.
Yeah.
We are so few to execute. There's so many activities. So the EXCOM members get actually involved in the day-to-day running, which is a very big stretch on their side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when you talk about stretch, I do think I share a similar sentiment on that, because when, of course, recently there was a new appointment of communications officer / PRO, Mr. Shafiq, but I've always been one that shares the opinion that I don't think for a body as busy and as one that holds so much responsibility as the Uganda Rugby Union, that one person can be able to fill that role. Do you feel like, in regards to communications and everything, that one person in that particular office is able to handle all the pressure and all the tasks that come from there?
No, that's not. It's not possible. But Rome was not built in one day. When we did this strategy, which we are reviewing, about to finish, we have an organogram of 36 employees
36.
at HQ. By the time we had 9, we now have 13. So I think that answers you.
Okay.
So, of course, we know that with time, we will have to increase these departments to become a little bit more effective. But that can only happen when you can afford it.
Yeah.
So at the moment, we cannot afford the desired organogram that we feel can run the union professionally. But it is work in progress, and we hope in a few years to come, the union will be fully facilitated, the HQ, fully facilitated in terms of the people, the workforce, the human resource that actually does the work.
On an ideal organogram for the Uganda Rugby Union, how many, let's say, employees ideally should be in that setup?
I said what we have now,
Is
the
36.
desired is 36, but
36.
what we have on the ground is 13.
Is 13?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, aside from all that, of course, jumping into July's Rugby Africa Cup 2024, which was, in my opinion, such a very beautiful tournament. Organized at a ground that hadn't been used for rugby for quite a while. There were, of course, talks about testing it before the tournament that ideally never happened, but it's good to see that a lot of things came to pass and were a success. But what's the story of Uganda Rugby Union's story of how Rugby Africa Cup came to be? Because I did have a conversation with a good friend of yours and, of course, Rugby Africa President Herbert Mensah, who also gave us his insight into that. But also, we did also see the updates about the union visiting Parliament as well to lobby for a lot of support. But what's the story? How was it birthed from your point of view, and then up to the point of when the trophy was really handed over?
So this is about the entire sport and growing it.
Yes.
It connects to so many things in your vision and strategy on how to grow the sport.
Yeah.
Whether you're a player, whether you're a leader, whether you are a fan, you all want one thing, at least that is for sure. The only thing that differs is in the execution, and that's why you see people differ. But you all want one thing. That one, I'm sure everybody wants the growth of the sport.
Yeah.
So we'll agree that on top of good performance on pitch, the brand also needs to be known. The
Yes.
brand needs to grow. And how do you grow the brand? You see, you have to be relevant at home, in the grassroots at schools. You have to be relevant in the clubs, have very good competitions in the clubs. You have to be relevant in the continent. Yeah. That is now growing the brand, which contributes to the popularity of the sport. With the popularity of the sport, you get more interests, more funding coming in from different corners.
Yeah.
So the idea here was building the brand of the sport.
Building the brand of the sport.
When the opportunity knocked of Africa Cup, we quickly consulted within ourselves and said, this is an opportunity to grow the brand at the continental level.
Yes.
Because at the time also Africa Rugby was having issues in terms of what is going to be afforded for competitions this year.
Yeah.
World Rugby had funded only up to the top 4 teams competition. That would have left Uganda out at number 5 because we were in Group B by the beginning.
Yeah.
And we sat in the rugby committee and said, we need to have most of our countries playing. What do we do? If we can get a country to host the 8 teams, then we can actually make sure that that happens. More rugby is played, and the benefit is cut across 8 countries rather than just 4.
Okay.
So Uganda saw the opportunity. We placed our hand up to say we shall host. Of course, at the point, that was in November last year, I think I was in France for the AGM of World Rugby.
Yeah.
So I had everybody that might make a decision there, and I had to call the minister and the council, Dr. Gwel, and the minister, Peter Gwang. I told them about this opportunity, and they blessed it, and they said, go ahead and bid, we shall support you.
Okay.
So we bid then. Of course, there's a rugby committee of Africa, which is like the technical committee. They had to deliberate this matter and gave the hosting rights to Uganda. The confirmation came in around Feb of this year, and then we said, fine, we have about 5 months to run this thing. We need so much money. What do we do? Of course, as the ExCom, we sit down with members of the HQ, deliberate, and came up with ways of how best we can execute it, depending on the demand, depending on what avenues we need to follow to see that we get some funding. One of them was a parliament visit that you talked about. As you're aware, one of my vice presidents is the honorable member of parliament, and he did a very good job to lead that. You know, the setting does not allow any one of us to just go and have an order paper placed, rather a motion placed on the order paper. So as a fraternity, we need to be very, very happy that we have one of those resources within us who was able to convince Parliament to have our motion placed on the order paper, which he led, and that came out with an approval, an approval from the legislators that we should support rugby to host this Africa Cup because it's the highest level of rugby in Africa, and Uganda has won the bid at the cheapest way possible without a lot of expenditure. So we need to grace it. That went well. The minister and the council were also excited and assured that we shall play from Nambole because they had seen the challenges we have been having with facilities, especially when it comes to hosting at that stage internationally. And the fact that this one now had 8 countries, 15s, the facilities would actually be really challenged as they are, the ones that we have and have been using. And we were happy and lucky that God was on our side. Nambole was availed. And the stadium, the outer pitch, which we actually preferred, is what was ready for us to use, and it gave us all the necessary advantages to excel in the hosting bit. That is on the technical front.
Before even you continue on that, there was also a mention for Wankulukuku, but it was later scrapped. Why was that?
No, Wankulukuku, 2-3 reasons, but mainly the main reason, Wankulukuku as a surface is international standard, and it was ready to play, but we did not have enough changing rooms. To manage. You saw the games back to back. There's only like 30 minutes between a game for people to come, maybe 20 minutes. So you needed a changing room specific for every team. No business of they will go out and the other ones enter. So that was the main challenge. But the pitch was standard. The technical team sent a report. That was not an issue. And it was a short time between game 1 and game 2. Someone might ask why did we plan earlier, but it is also financial to set up temporary changing rooms that can meet a world standard. Remember, it's a World Rugby event. It's not just a Uganda event. It's a World Rugby. So there's a standard. Those tents needed to have had a platform with air conditioning and bathrooms within them. So you can imagine the amount of money that we needed to set up 8 tents in 3 days to fit the standard. So we had to unfortunately pull out Wankulukuku, though we had even invested because of our partnership with Wankulukuku and the Kingdom in the sanitization of the stadium. We had invested in the toilets, in the bathroom, the painting and everything. But because we have a long-term relationship, that is just the beginning. We are ready to invest more in that facility because of our relationship, so that next time it is ready to host independently.
Okay, so then of course, coming to the event itself, how was it like being able to get so many partners on board? Of course, you had Speak Resort Munyonyo as an accommodation space for the teams and the officials, but then also the different other partners that you had. How was that journey like? And of course, now with the new with the new venue that was going to be used, which was Nambole, which is not one that is normally accustomed to by rugby fans. How was that like, and also the plan to create awareness on top of also the funding that is needed to run all these operations?
So I can tell you that much as you might say that it looked good and everything, we know the challenges we went through. It was not a bed of roses. It was a very challenging time, but we needed to find ways of... So the partners, many of them came in as in kind sponsorship. For example, Munyonyo would give a very serious discount for us to be able to afford having the whole setup in that place, because the standards of World Rugby are 5-star. You're not going to take them 3-star. So it was one of the only places that could host all those people. But it's an expensive place. But they came up very serious with their discount rates. And of course, we engaged our travel agent. You saw the lady Voyager, who has good relationships with the Rupa area, who was able to negotiate and also stand in between that relationship. So Voyager almost was the relationship manager in terms of accommodation and hospitality. We used our own Bubu by Uganda, Chira Motors. They also gave us a very good deal. Remember, some of their buses don't use fuel, some use fuel. So I don't think we could get any better deal than that. Nambole, we had the government put their hand in it to ensure that we will have it. A small union with some bit of financial issues. We were not subjected to the demands of such a facility immediately. So everything was organized in a way that it is seamless to happen, and you can deal with it later as funds come in.
So was this, of course, these operations, of course, with everything that we are going to talk about, it is, of course, I know there are some things that cannot be talked about direct, but then there are other things that can be, of course, shared. But of course, with all the funding and everything that happens, was this money availed in time for you guys to do whatever you wanted to do, or was there any particular, let's say, hold up, or maybe something that you had to do on credit? Because people need to understand some of these things. Sometimes people come out and perhaps are saying that that hey, the money was availed, how come this and this didn't happen, how come the players are not paid? So maybe that's a dynamic that's very important to explain to the stakeholders.
These are natural things. Even you people, as individuals, you go home when the landlord, you owe the landlord the money, or you don't even have food. You pass by the nearby shop where you have built relationship, they give you credit. So I don't know why people would want to take this out of proportion. The fact that you don't want to spoil the relationships, the partnerships. Money delays sometimes. Okay. What matters is the event done and in which way. Yeah. When you talk about players, that's another thing which I'm very sure you're going to ask many questions. We shall discuss. But the funding did come in, some of it later. Yeah. Some we are still expecting from different partners, and as soon as it comes in, we will settle most of the service providers that still are demanding. Okay. So because of our partnerships and commitments, we have partnerships who pre-finance and know the way our funding is coming and are able to wait with us, and we walk the talk and ensure that things happen. Okay. So there are those kind of providers that we have that work with us in the background to ensure these things happen. So at that point, you don't just want to borrow money for everything. Yes. There are things that can wait. You get it? There are things that can wait. So there are priorities that we make. There are things that cannot wait. I'll tell you, security cannot wait. True. You get it? Ambulance cannot wait. Scaffolds where the fans will sit cannot wait. You get it? Those are things that when you're making a decision, I have no money now, but I expect money. Let's say I need $1 billion to run this event, and I know where it's coming from, but it is not there, and it's time for the event. Then you look at your budget and say, in this $1 billion, what is the key? That is what you borrow for. The rest can wait, and you can pay them later. But you also need to have that accountability to know that, and also a track record that you always pay, even if you delay. Yeah. And that's the only way people are going to remain, associating with you. Yeah. And also, of course, with everything that was good, of course, there were some hiccups here and there, or at least some complaints that came around. Of course, one of the most prominent ones that was running around social media was the VIPs and the experience that they were having. And I saw you also did come out and you put out a tweet that was talking about having to make up to some of these people if they felt like the experience wasn't worth it. Of course, I'm sure that wasn't directly your docket, of course, because you delegate work. But what was the report you got, and what do you think the challenge was with the VIP experience? Actually, that tweet was mine personally. But of course, because I hold the title, whenever I write something, people will know that is union. But that was my observation. Yes. That was totally my observation. I was busy. My mind was concentrating on hospitality. That is the hotel, and the pitch, technical. Yes. Because those are the areas we are really marked with the world bodies. Those two. I didn't mind much about ticketing and how that is happening, because I could not oversee everything. Nor could we oversee. Not only me, actually, my executive. Yeah. We had to really divide ourselves within the technical bit and the hospitality bit. But in my observation, since I attended all the games, I could see the confusion. Yeah. I saw the 50,000 area, and I realized, I said, what is the difference between this area and the other one of 20K? Yes. Already, I could tell that there was some bit of mismatch. Then there was a 150 who was supposed to sit with the VVIPs, and I knew how we were served in the VVIPs. There was something lacking. So I said, if I paid my 150K, what would I expect? Yeah. That is where that tweet came from. Because I know those people that did that must have felt like they got a raw deal. And fortunately, where I sit, I can convince my executive that we should give them back something. Next international, we need to find them and give them back something. Someone was asking there, how will you know tickets? How will you know? But you see, most of these payments were done online. Yes. And now with our Momo partnership. We
Yes.
have those records. You get it. Just a matter of proving it's your number, and we know what you paid. The records are there. The people themselves might have their records, but we also have records because we were not taking any cash payment. So if anybody paid the cash, they go to that ticket in an illegal manner. It was digital.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and when you actually talk about MTN Momo, Rugby has been known to use different online payment partners, but for the Rugby Africa Cup, you chose to really strategize on going with MTN Momo. What advantage do you think MTN Momo gave you for the Rugby Africa Cup?
It was not really for Rugby Africa Cup. What we're looking for with MTN is a long-term relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, it just happens that they were in at the same time, so they did it. But it was not like we are looking for them for Rugby Africa Cup. Actually, in our discussions with MTN, we've told them we need a payment partner for URIU across the board. These regional circuits you have across the board, international, we know that we have a payment partner. And that one is going to take care of A, B, C, D, make life easier for fans, make life easier for the union. And you know, once we are getting more into the digital era, that means that there's less leakage. Less leakage. So the team from the commercial side of URIU, Excom and HQ, has been looking for this kind of partner. And one of the people they have engaged is Momo, who they actually in a contract with at the moment. I think it's 1 year reviewable to see the big picture. It was just a year.
Okay, so of course, all of you guys out there that are watching us, we are at the Gardens Nigeria, which is our official venue partner, to just be able to experience this lovely space, a space that has a very good bar, but that also can be hired for your private parties. It's also important to note that they have a lot of theme nights that you can be a part of. Of course, some to mention are, of course, the quiz night, the rock night, the reggae night as well. So you can just reach out to them and get those particular dates and the inquiries. And most importantly, every last Saturday of the month, they do have the East Africa Meat Carnival, which is good music meets a great experience when it comes to different meaty treats from all across East Africa. And that is one that is going to be there this particular Saturday for those that are looking for the August edition. And also a special mention to our partner Nile Special for being with us in this experience. Make sure whenever you have the chance to enjoy a Nile Special, just make sure you do not drink while you drive and make sure that you're above 18 to be able to enjoy a Nile Special. Still here, of course, with President Godwin Kayangwe. And we have talked about a lot of stuff on Rugby Africa Cup, but from your review, I'm sure you guys have had a review as the union and the planning team of the Rugby Africa Cup 2024. What are the successes you think you've picked from this particular tournament, knowing that in 2025 it's going to be here, and 2025 is much bigger, of course, being a Rugby World Cup qualifying tournament?
I think the difference here is it's in July, 10 months.
Yeah.
The one earlier, the one we just concluded, we had about 4 months.
Yeah.
So we have 10 months already. That surely we should have little excuse this time. Yeah, we just need to improve on the operations. You know, the actual execution. We need people to move away from thinking rugby like in the past. When you're working, you're working. It's not a luxury. You know, in the past, the nature of the game was a luxury because you're a volunteer. You can afford to come the way you want to be dressed, whether you are 100% sober or not, and no one will chase you away from committing to that role. Okay. But where the game has reached now, with the safety measures, with the impact, you know, the repercussions where anything goes wrong on any area, even if you're a volunteer, you need to commit to fully give and work hard. So for me, those are the areas that we just need to look at: how people enter, what are you giving to the fans, how do they access it, communication clearly stated out before. That was another area that was an issue. People love the rugby game. They just come and then they have to find out from there that I have to pass this gate, I have to, you know, that those small details are the things we want to really capitalize on to make them better this time. And service provision, how is it distributed? Someone has to walk a mile to get a piece of chicken. There are those
Yeah,
small
yeah.
details that mess up people. Because at least I'll be in the space of a fan,
Mm.
which I still am, and I know what will disorganize me. So I think for the next one, we are going to, if I might say, answer your questions, we are going to look into the detail of how to better the experience.
Okay. And then I think as we start to close on this particular Rugby Africa Cup topic, one thing I'd want to ask is that, of course, we look at such tournaments and we, okay, personally, I think I look at it from a marketing point of view, and I'm like, of course, looking for the future and potential partners that can come on board. Does the union and, of course, the people that are responsible for organizing this tournament keep the particular records of maybe data numbers, demographics, to be able to use that information to sell to potential partners that would want to come in? Ideally, this is also something I can connect to earlier on in the year when there was a high school final at the Makerere Rugby Grounds, and then there was a very, very big number of alumni people from these particular schools that came to support, and it was also another opportunity to have this data collected that can be used as leverage for whatever amounts of money that the sport needs to get. So my question is, one, of course, is that information being stored somewhere? Is there someone responsible for that? And two, does the union have a business wing that is focused dedicatedly with particular KPIs on how to address or how to get people on board?
Yes, the commercial team, the commercial committee, of course, the sales aspect in any business is a responsibility for everybody.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility for everyone, but directing it, like you said, the department that directs it, what we have now currently is a commercial committee.
Yeah.
And they are volunteers. You find that now the HQ is supposed to support them,
Yeah.
and they support it as
Yeah.
well. In regards to your first question of data, we can do better. I will not lie to you that we are collecting data, but I'll say we have started picking all sorts of data from in different ways for we have through partnerships. For example, if I tell you that over 2.3 million views on Africa Cup on the 3 days.
Yes.
We have the detailed data on how many views for the Uganda game, and we can actually compare what's going on. Yeah, 800, it was averaging about 800, over 800,000 views on TV.
On TV.
On TV, you see. I've not yet picked the data from you people and the likes of Kawowo.
Yeah.
There's another one, I think, Afro Mobile, I think, or something, Rugby Pass, that is international mainly. But we have the one from NBS, and it shows you that if you have close to 1 million people watching a game, it's not a small deal.
Yeah.
And how do you use that data? That is where I want to go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think my last question in particular to this is, of course, we have talked about all the good things, but of course there's a good and a bad. And recently we did have former captain of the Rugby Cranes, Ivan Magom, come on to space to talk about his experience, of course, with the Rugby Africa Cup in camp. First thing he did tell us was, of course, that for the camp they received 200,000 Ugandan shillings, and then he did say that they were supposed to receive 1 million shillings per game, but they were able to get $100 per game, which was less than what was promised. He also cited the fact that they did not get any contracts for this particular tournament. And I think the last thing that he did mention was the fact that, or he did allude to, was the fact that, one, there is no way a code of conduct affects them because there is nothing signed, in his opinion. And looking, of course, at how things were being operated, he felt like there was a lot of bias in, one, the way he was also called out for his public criticism of someone that is a partner of the Uganda Rugby Union, and then also that he doesn't think that the appeal would be fair, but he's just trying to set precedent. What do you have to say? I'm sure you watched the episode, but what
You've asked me so many questions. On
it
the
is
same...
okay. Basically, the question is, Ivan Magom, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Ivan is a very interesting character.
Yeah.
That if you don't handle him in a specific way, he might sleep. You know, you might get the bad part of him, but there is a good part of him that also takes a lot of energy to get out, which is very good.
Yeah.
That is what I can tell you over time. And I'll say that I first met Ivan when he was an O-level student. I did not meet him, but I saw him play because I watched that game of Smack. Said this brilliant player. I had not watched school games ever since I had left school, but that one I watched at their school in Kisubi, and I saw this player, and I was like, this player playing this kind of rugby at this age, senior 3 or senior 3. Then later on, I heard he had been let go from school, but then he continued. I met him again in Namiriango. All this time, I would just hear about Ivan. Then until I managed him as a team manager in Pirates, because I was his team manager. And I got now to know him very well, and that's when I got to know what I just told you. He's actually a very good person, but he's one of those that you need to pull out that from him, and if you let him loose, you need to deal with what he's capable of. Fast forward, and to be honest, as a team manager, I did not have issues with Ivan's discipline because I had him on my side all the time. But to be honest, I'm not the only one. There are so many people who have held Ivan's hand, especially in our setting. I don't have to mention them because it is not my place to mention them. It is him, if he wants, all themselves. But so many people have held Ivan's hand. He has looked up to so many people. And to be honest, on the whole, in my opinion, he hasn't disappointed because he has finished his education. He's a family man and still playing rugby. So in my opinion, on the generally, on a whole, he hasn't disappointed. But when something happens and it is on the other side of the law, it depends on how you react to it. In physics, there's equal action. Action is equal to reaction. So when you do something, expect the same reaction. So how you react with issues determines. And it's either way. So maybe how EXCOM DC reacted made him react the way, or the other way around, you see. Fast forward is, I had the podcast, I had to play it so many times because it was so long, but I didn't have the time, but I had whatever he said. There is, in my opinion, there was something he was trying to say that was not the case that was happening. You get it? Because I tried to get the DC angle of that whole argument, it was not there. I think the whole thing was on welfare. And even you were leading him to welfare more than the DC. Until you go to the lawyer, maybe you talked more of the
I think with the DC, the first thing I did ask him was, of course, going step by step. First part was, I asked him if what the allegations were for attacking a referee as per the claims from 1st June, the Rugby Championship final, Heathens versus Pirates. And it's a question that I felt like he did not answer directly. But we know that from the communication we have gotten from referees and all that, there was a complaint that was submitted to the Uganda Rugby Union. So I don't know from your point of view what you received and why it was an issue that took so long to be addressed.
First of all, from that point of view, he, land lawyer, knew he was doing an illegal thing to have that discussion because he had not, with his counsel, officially received communication from URIU. And I think the appeals committee was very clear on that. That was illegal. Those lawyers have terms they use, something like prejudice or whatever. You don't go out publicly to speak about something, a case you are involved in and it is still in the process. So for me, that was. So even when he was able to talk about appeals in that podcast, it was totally being a little bit careless for his profession because formal letter from URIU had not come. He had, I don't know if he had done an appeal. He had not done an appeal, you see, but expected to do an appeal because you asked him. Said, we shall appeal. So if you're in the process, you keep away from it until you feel you have been unfairly treated, then you can come out. So that sends mixed signals to all the other people, all the other parties. What do you think the DC will think about? What do you think the appeals committee that is constituted will think about when they see such things happening during the process? You are not doing justice to yourself.
Yeah.
People need to let the systems work. Yeah, people need to let the systems work. So the systems have worked. The systems being unfair or illegal is another thing, but they need to work.
Yeah.
You can challenge them, and that is what they are doing. Saying the systems are unfair and illegal. They are trying to challenge them. That should be treated as it is. It should not have intrigue on other matters. You get it?
Yeah.
It's not a problem getting annoyed
Yes.
or annoying people. It's not the issue. It's what you do with it. You understand? So, if you feel the DC was illegally constituted or unfair or biased, then you know how to deal with that in the system. Until you feel that it is done and you're unfairly treated anyway, but you need to let the systems work.
Okay.
If you don't use the systems, that will be another battle. I want to go back to the other issue of, because you forget it now that we are in that one. Contracts.
Yes.
What was the other question? Contracts and then the payment.
Contracts and payments.
Yeah, because I had him mention, you asked him contract, he said no.
Yes.
I had him mention,
Yes.
we promised $1 million and gave $100.
Yes.
So for starters, I want to tell you something interesting.
Okay.
And you see, when you don't have a contract, there is a reason you don't have a contract and you're engaging in that activity.
Okay.
There are other laws that govern you, and you are aware. The player code of conduct is governing you. The World Rugby law is governing you. That's why you're referring to it. Why should you refer to them when you don't have a contract? That to demystify that statement. They are governing you. 2, last year, those 15 teams refused to sign the contract.
Okay.
Okay? And their reason was simple and genuine.
Okay.
That's the information I have. They made a calculation and realized that when they receive the daily allowance, they receive more money than what was being offered in the what?
In the
In
contract.
the contract.
So the daily allowances don't have any signing.
They
anywhere.
signed for them. Those documents are there in the finance. They signed for them. So they said, let's prefer to stay with the daily allowance bit. Well, we can fault our systems. Even with the daily allowance bit, you need to have contracts.
How much are the daily allowances?
I don't remember, but maybe 20,000 or 30. I don't know that figure very well. I needed to have consulted.
Okay.
But the actual figure is that finance, the team manager has it because he pays them and they sign, and he accounts at the HQ.
Okay.
So, but the gist of the matter is when they are sharp, they only did their math. They were better off on the allowance bit. So they refused the what? Contract.
They refused the contract.
So this year, it's because events were moving so fast. We just moved on into training, but assumed the status quo,
Yeah.
daily allowance, okay, which is what they've been getting. And in match day allowances, based on the previous contracts, it's $100 for an away game
Okay.
and 250,000 Uganda shillings for a home game. I remember us having that discussion at Africa Cup when they were doing the budget. And that was the figure that was proposed. And I told them no, because of the intensity of this tournament, let us maintain it on the away. I convinced finance, let's maintain it on the away figure of $100. Hence the reason they received $100.
Okay.
No one ever promised them $1 million shillings.
Was this communicated to them prior to the Rugby Africa tournament that $100 is what you're receiving and your daily allowances?
It should be communicated through the team manager,
team manager.
or some, yeah. So
Yes.
you will need to reach out to him. It must have. But what I was interested in is who communicated 1 million. I did the research and nobody communicated 1 million.
Okay.
Because maybe my VPT or treasurer could have, maybe in a certain sitting where I was not. So I didn't want to dispute it until I have what?
Facts.
Information. So now that I have facts, no one communicated them 1 million.
Yeah.
In fact, that case issue came up also in the appeals. And I even had to apologize for it because that was not a fact. It's good when you come out here, you give the facts.
Okay.
You understand? You give the facts. So that is the situation. But again, The journey to contract the sevens teams is traceable and accountable.
Yes.
The journey to contract the 15s team is on its way.
Yes.
The actual contracts like the one the sevens have, where you pay the monthly, it's on its way. It will be very unfair for anybody to expect us to have 120 players on a contract abruptly. Very unfair. The men on contract are 25, including their management. Sevens. The women's program for sevens, because they are performing well, was meant to start in 2025. But they overtook the plan. They overperformed in 2023 to the extent that they were running exactly the same program with the men. Now that was a good problem. We had to put them on contract by force.
By force.
We have to find that money, whatever it takes. The one for the 15s is a journey. Of course, we would love these 15s guys, all of them, at least 40 players, a squad, to be on contract and also be able to concentrate on the game and perform well. But it is a journey.
Okay.
They have to have a sponsor for that.
So, of course, you've said that they for this Rugby Africa tournament they did go with the amounts that had previously been agreed upon
With their previous
So
precedents.
yes. So where does that leave things like medical then in the event that there is no contract and nothing?
Now medical, what we do is we pay insurance.
Insurance.
There's insurance for the game, but there's insurance for every fan
Really?
that appears on that ground.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's insurance for every fan. There's insurance for the game, for the players. Then there's also the in insurance in case of an injury. In the past, we only took care of injuries from national team.
Yeah.
But now once you are a national team player, even if you got the injury from the club,
Yes.
the club needs to tell us and we take care of that medical issue. And we've done so. We've done so at least for every case that has been brought to EXCOM and HQ. It has been catered for financially. We are still looking for an insurance partner who can actually give us proper insurance for players or give a good deal that even clubs can tap into. But we've not yet become very successful in that direction.
Okay, so I think my last question on this would particularly be around putting the game in disrepute. A very, very popular phrase that has come up in these last few moments, or these last few weeks. Looking at it, and first thing I want to ask is, from your point of view, what constitutes putting the game in disrepute, in your opinion? Because I did see it as, of course, especially highlighting Article 5 in the Code of Conduct. But if it's my social media and I have the liberty to use it for what I want, then what should I do? What should I not do? Then I think part B of that particular question would be about basically everything that has happened, and maybe people have frustrations and they are failing to find the right ways to address them. What is the right way for them to get these concerns heard, for them not to have to go to social media?
First of all, I don't know why people think they'll get solutions at social media.
Likes.
I think likes they want, and also pressure.
Pressure.
Yeah, but when you're running systems and structures, there's nothing you can do. The system is going to take precedence. Even if I left rugby today, it is going to continue and nicely and continue developing. Because it is run by a system, by a structure, worldwide. Disrepute, I hear so many people talking about that. Disrepute. But what does disrepute mean, generally? Yeah, a state of being put in low self-esteem by the public. That is what it means. So if you know what it means, it is a state of low self-esteem. You are being put into the public. You know, someone talks something about you that is causing you to have low self-esteem in the public. So when you have a negative chat about you or you that is not factual, and it is getting a lot of traction, isn't that disrepute?
Yes, it does amount as disrepute, because it all contributes to PR.
So that's the thing.
Okay.
If the thought is there that there's some bit of disrepute, then the system is calling you to a DC, come and explain what were you up to, what is going on. Then you explain, and maybe they have misunderstood you, and the DC will understand. So, okay, this is what you meant. You know?
And then, of course, so what are the right angles or the right approaches for players to take when they have some of these frustrations?
Grievances. If I start from the player's point of view, first of all, a player has a captain. And that is, I think, what Ivan has picked up in his mind. I'm the captain. I have to protect the players. But he forgets the system. Where is he as a captain supposed to channel? You get it?
Maybe he's feeling the system is not.
We shall get to that. So you see, as a player, you have a captain. As a captain, you have a team manager. You get it? As a team manager, you have the executive of your club. And most team managers can talk directly to the chairman. And, you know, there are natural ways of resolving a grievance without having to even follow the system. If I'm a team manager, it is important for me to have a relationship with my bosses. I can talk to you casually for the start and see, can we, you know, informally solve this problem? What do you advise? It fails, it's a big, in escalation, it goes to the HQ, the person in charge, maybe the vice president, the secretary of Uganda Rugby Union. If it comes in that manner, the executive is supposed to attend to it and give feedback and meet people. But if it skips all these things and it goes direct to social media and the executive is seeing a fight on social media, it's a different. If we have not received, and in the past, I think I can attest, I have seen a few communications from a captain talking about allowances. And responses have been made, promises have been made, and they have been met. So you cannot be the same captain that now decides to skip that direction you've already taken in the past and go in a different manner. You get it?
Yeah.
Because luckily enough, it is the same captain I'm talking about that has raised these things, grievances before in the right manner. And I'll tell you, the captain is the main ambassador for 15 senior of the game, at least to the larger bit of the public. Meaning, a captain also has a dotted line to the president, even if he does not go through the system. But he can talk to the president in a specific manner and say, there is some issue here, but please help me to handle. And also me, then I know how to bring it down through the channels that it is supposed to move through and say, guys, attend to this matter.
Yeah.
And we get. But if you miss all those things, then how do you hope to get out of the mess? So players have a clear way. Some are not written in black and white. It's like a family. You have the parents, you have the bigger brothers, and then the small one. There is nothing in black and white that this one is up. If the young man has a problem, he's supposed to go to the mother direct, or there is nothing written. But the young man will have found out the best way to solve his grievances within that channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also there was Ivan Kabagambe. A very interesting issue. He recently also came out on social media talking about the fact that he made, of course, he was part of the contingent that earlier on had gone to South Africa for the camp that was preparing them, of course, for the Rugby Africa Cup, of course, in partnership with Blue Bulls Rugby, which we do appreciate for their support of rugby in Uganda. But one thing that came out, or that he addressed on social media, was that their conditions where they were staying and how he just made a complaint, or at least a suggestion, about having certain basics where they were staying, and he was punished for it, and he was eventually brought back for that regard. What do you have to say about Ivan Kabagambe?
So Ivan decided to bring out his information around the same time there was this Magome issue. Why did he bring it at that time?
I don't know, maybe
because it happened way before. Why did he bring it at that time? You get it? So that is one. Two, there were 7. The 6 remained. We sent another one to replace him. Why did the 6 remain? That is 3. The other 2. 3, I personally went there. And they took me to where they were staying. And they were comfortable with where they were staying. It's actually a house at the facility itself. Get it? 3, I think 3 or 4 of them were staying there, and the other 3 were staying in another apartment, just a few meters away from the facility of Harlequins. Ivan's initial complaint, and I'm going back now, why he was there was, I saw the first complaint, he did not have a gas stove to cook something. But the way he approached it was wrong. We curbed it early. And we thought that maybe it was not a good day for him. And we tried to guide. But Ivan continued doing things that are weird, that we could not take a risk to leave him there. Remember, it's a reputation of a country. We have stood by those players. We have a big relationship with the Bulls that is also standing by us. If you have any suspicion that this kind of person might damage the reputation of the rest, and say that Ugandans, we try to help them, but their players are like this, so we cannot take any more, we had to remove him. And we don't remove him just because we have thought about it from Uganda. We do investigations. His fellow players can witness to you what was going on in that house. You get it? So the only solution, and at that time we sent one of our program managers, Alex Mubiru, to South Africa during that very time. And he investigated the matter. And he had to come back with him to Uganda because we did not want him to get lost in SA. Yet the visa was pegged on Uganda Rugby Union and Blue Bulls. He got back here, was delivered to his place, and he found his way out to another place, which we have no idea where it is up to now. Okay. So he ceases to be a property of the URU. Of a responsibility, not proper responsibility of URU. He left the program. If URU was running after him by now, would have written letters to the authorities that this person is moving on the visa which we are responsible for. But he's an adult. We didn't want to go that route. Maybe he would try his. You remember also at a certain point, a certain club approached us asking for his transfer because you can't play without it, which I think technical granted him. So for him bringing that letter out at that point was malicious. Okay. It is not informed and malicious, and it cannot take him any far. Yeah, it can't take, because what is he hurting? Is he hurting me? He's hurting the system. What is he hurting? He's not hurting me. It's him. It's as an individual, and that's what I tell players. You need to look at the best way to develop within the system and get what you want.
When you talk about timing, and then you talk about Ivan Kabagambe and the time he chose to bring that statement out when Ivan Magom's issues were also running, it makes me dial back to a previous conversation that we had and that I need clarity on. Why did the disciplinary committee and the union also delay on that first case of Ivan Magom and the referees?
Yeah.
Because many people are calling it a witch hunt on a player that has been very vocal on so many issues, image rights.
So you see a witch hunt, Even when you go to court, they ask you, are you a first-time offender? Why do they ask that question? To see if they can pardon you. Maybe it was a mistake. But if you have been in court for the same case 3 times, what can happen? I am not a lawyer, but we follow some of these things, and I've seen that happen. So if you know there is a disciplinary committee, that's a court. It's a court, right? Yeah. And you're not a first-time offender, or at least you have not gone before them once, not twice, not thrice, not 4 times. And the cases are almost similar. You get it? It's a different thing altogether. Okay. Now, that attack on the referee happened, I think,
in June, first.
The last game.
Yeah, final.
And already they were into camp for the 15th campaign. So there are so many, there is what they call collateral, opportunity cost. Sometimes these decisions are made strategically, politically. They might bend the law a bit, which is not good, because there are people who believe in black and white, switch on or off, they don't compromise. But in terms of balancing the whole ecosystem, sometimes you might put your eye away from something when indeed, and it comes back to bite you. Because in this case, it came back to bite. Ivan should have been booked at that time.
Yeah.
But because of his impact on the team,
On the national team.
consultations are made with the management. I'd say, you guys, you try to talk to other people and say, you know what, let's talk to the guy. Let's talk to him. There are so
Yeah.
many people who come and say, well, let's talk to him. We need him. Let's talk to him.
Yeah.
As the leaders, what do? You want to be the rigid leader who doesn't give people a chance to have, talk. So that is a ball dropped that we should have used the law of the arm and had him. But it happened. We are now here. So to say, we are now here. Okay? Otherwise, at that point, and the DC, which they say is biased, was actually very professional. They said this is outside because it has been overtaken by events. It has not been reported in the time stipulated. And for the DC, for it acts on just the law. So, according to them, whether in their opinion it was a wrong thing, they couldn't act on it because it was already past the time. And they stated it.
Okay. So, in regards to PR, of course, everything that has been happening after a successful Rugby Africa Cup, and then you get into all this, I want to call it Kavuyo, which has gone as far as even Rugby Pass writing an article about it. This is all negative PR for a sport that needs more stakeholders coming on board. Why is it that the union is very quiet about addressing many of these issues or trying to take to state their narrative?
It's the same thing I'm telling you, and the same thing I told you earlier. I was not going to come to this thing during the process.
Okay.
It's the same thing. The union cannot announce itself on something before when one of the hands of the union is handling it.
Yeah.
That is undermining the ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not that we are quiet. It's we are allowing the systems we have forced us so much as a public to put in place to work. We can't have a DC sitting and at the same time the CEO or the president is talking his opinion about it. Then immediately it is done. I cannot give an opinion because the what do you call it? The defendant has his 72 hours to appeal. So what if I give a comment within those 72 hours that that's just it. It's all about being quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about referees a little bit. So referees, of course, tying a little bit to what the Ivan allegation of attacking referees and, of course, complaints made, there was also allegations that, or let me say rumors, that referees were planning to ideally step down if there was any game that Pirates would have maybe fielded Ivan Magoma at the time. We also, in our line of work, we try to do some digging, and some anonymous people, of course, did share with us various sentiments. One being that there are so many cases about players also attacking them. They talk about their poor remuneration as well, get the money they get, but also their safety and also their mental health. So how we talk about player welfare so much. How about referee welfare?
The referees, you see, again, I keep singing this song, but I don't know, it will never get known. You know, the way people behave is like someone has placed money in the union and is supposed to take care of these people, but it is being diverted or something.
Yeah.
What people need to know is when we are placed in the union, there is no money. It is us who look for it.
Yes.
So when they are demanding activities, they need to know that we have to prioritize based on what we have got. Okay? There is a reason the referees are at that level of remuneration, which has increased, actually. Okay. Because I had a meeting with them, promised it will be increased. In the budgeting, we increased it, and they can attest to that. And I don't think this is a complaint from a referee. I think it is a fan asking or something, that question. So we also know that what we are getting is not enough, and we are thriving to make it enough. Hence the reason we are going into things like Host Africa Cup. Take games to the north, take games to the west, take games, build the brand, which I told you earlier. Collectively, these things increase our fun. And collectively, the welfare of everyone becomes better. In terms of the attack, yes, we've had complaints, referees be, and it is true. And the DC hearing leaked, which is okay because court cases are also publicized. And you see that the panelists were saying they got threats from the defendant. If you look at the referee's report on the same Ivan Magom, she was threatened and actually bumped physically, which can even be a police case anyway. You get my point? So why wouldn't the referees be scared if players have the capacity to do that? That the possibility that I end a game and I'm beaten is there. You get it? Better, you're more vulnerable than a fan. Because when you go to watch as a fan, do you have at any one time in your mindset that I might be beaten for losing a game?
Not really.
Not really. But a ref, when he's going to do such a game, knows that the fans can go mad and actually bounce on me. That is why we also invest in security. Stewards, we try to get people down there to ensure that these people are safe. It didn't happen. It has happened in the past. It can happen again. It has to be managed. There was something around there also you asked.
The mental health as well because of so many things still.
So they talked to me, the referees, they have come up with a mental welfare department in their thing, which they want support from the union. And they explained to us that is supposed to deal with things like that. We're like, this is a very good idea. The structure of the union is to support such structures that will help improve. So we've welcomed that. We are supposed to just keep on following up with them and see how best can we. But I need to commend the referees because one, they have improved.
Yeah.
They are doing better games than before. They have better self-reflect on their performance. They are fit. They are reffing out of the country. They are increasing in number. You see. So it is not a dormant department. They might have challenges, but they are improving. And we can support their challenges, not to the full, but to an extent.
Yeah, because actually one of the challenges, one of the things that were shared with anonymously was that some of them are still being owed money from Victoria Cup, and others have just received some money, not all, from the Rugby Championship.
It is possible. The owing money is possible. I'm not going to shy away from that.
Yeah.
It is possible. Victoria Cup, that was last year.
Yeah, last year around November.
Yeah, it is possible. But all those accounts are there. I will tell you, there's a time my name appeared in the AGM as someone who the union owes money for 4 different AGMs. So it is possible you can be owed. But in which spirit are you talking about it? That is the thing I want to change. In which spirit? Are you saying they are stealing your money? Or they have just not yet found the money to pay you?
Maybe that's the clarity they need. That
Exactly.
maybe when there is no money, that they have these honest conversations with them. That you know what is saying.
I'll tell you, there is some anonymous, or not anonymous, because they introduce themselves and put their ID on the email. They wrote asking for accountability of Uganda Rugby Union from the money they are receiving from the government.
Yeah.
For the last 3 years. My response was very simple. Go to the HQ. Attached in copy is the CEO. Let him provide you all the accounts. We have accounts for over the last 10 years plus. We don't even need to prepare them. You ask you for 3 years, go and they ask you. And ask and they give them to you. They will show you. They may not give them to you. Because as per our constitution, there is also a format of how you should receive them. You need to be a member of a certain club, a stakeholder. At an AGM, they are released, they are given. Now, in that club, the leaders have a way they send them down to the members. You are someone from the outside, we don't know which club you're from, what. You can still come, because this is a public thing, to the HQ, the finance department is there, and you get these accounts written. Now, back to the referee, why I'm saying that. If some of them feel like, yes, we have not been paid, maybe is it an issue of prioritization? They also have the mandate, to go to the HQ and actually say, fine, why is it for us we have not been paid and you're taking the under 20 maybe out to South Africa? Then they get an explanation. You see, so arrears will be paid as and when the money comes in. We just did a finance meeting yesterday with a positioning of union as it is. And what we found out is if we can collect all our receivables, the money we are waiting for, we can pay every area to date and still run the remaining activities for this year. That's the position we are in. So the union has what you can call a cash flow problem, mainly. You get it? A cash flow problem. So what do? Cancel the event, yet you get the money in advance, cancel the event. When you cancel the event and the money actually comes, you'll be very sorry that you have not had the event. So that is a scenario that we keep on running or rotating around. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just jumping into, of course, sponsorship. Sponsorship has also been an interesting topic, and there are particular clubs that have come out to say that the Uganda Rugby Union leadership has been blocking, in quotes, their progress in attaining sponsors for themselves and moving their progress forward. So I want to know what the union's position is in regards to sponsorships, especially those in the same industry.
So that is, it's. I think I had a discussion about it on a Southern TV. During that very time, we had an issue. But I said these are existing contracts, okay? Yeah, this is an existing contract with obligations from URU, obligations from the sponsor. Unfortunately, they do not allow in a competitor. So if we are to bring in a competitor, there has to be a discussion formally and an acceptance from either side. So you cannot just bring in a competitor and think you're going to throw them down in an existing contract. Okay. So in one way, it was a channel, the way these clubs, you said, followed that thing.
Yeah.
They needed to have gone the dialogue way first and you see what is possible. As union, we also talk to the other party and see what is possible and what is not possible. We come back. You don't just say, we have now brought this sponsor for us as clubs, you are suffering. That is sabotage. Okay. You get it? But there is a learning into that. The learning into that is the fact that if there is a way there can be a coexistence, let us also negotiate it now and make a plan on how to follow it up. You get it?
Yeah.
The messages thrown out are totally wrong. These people who throw out messages don't want to come and sit on a round table and have such candid discussions. And like you have said, you know the PR issues. Once one negative thing goes out, there are so many people waiting to jump onto that negative thing, whether they understand it or not. You get it? So what we need is that dialogue, consultation. How is it happening over the world? Is there a contract that actually allows coexistence? Can our particular partner accept coexistence? They have never said no. The union is not blocking anyone. We are only protecting the current contract with its obligations.
Which these clubs signed.
Which they signed the manuals by extension. Yeah.
Okay.
If the tournament it is the league, they signed the manual, which is by extension the master contract. You've seen them making a lot of jokes on what does a master contract say. That's what you call the master contract. But it is a dialogue. It is a planning, it is working together, getting the solution and pushing forward.
When you look at some of these things on social media, how do you react to them? How do you just laugh? Because some people even outrightly call out your name. You resign or what?
But you see, sometimes I don't know these people. Many times I don't know them. So it is difficult to respond to someone you don't know, especially on a sensitive matter. Second thing is, no offense, but many of them even have very few likes, very few followers, and they're wasting my time. You know, I have other things to do, to put food on the table for myself. Someone is calling you Mubi, does not even know you. You get it? They've never known you. But because I have the header, President Uganda Rugby Union, yes, I just cannot respond carelessly. I am not allowed.
You have a VP technical who's very, very vocal. and he puts out his statements. Then his last line, his last phrase is always "violence come to me."
That is his nature.
Does it also affect the union in general? And when you're trying to trigger people, maybe perhaps with some of your statements.
Maybe, I am not sure, but that is his nature, and he knows how to handle that. You get it? But in a way, maybe there's a way he communicates that some people understand, But for me, there's a way I also communicate. There's no way I am going to respond to somebody who is attacking me directly on social media. But if you are attacking a stakeholder, I might respond. Now that's my duty. You're attacking me as a person, I may not respond to you.
Okay.
I will ignore you for years. Yeah, at the end of the day, you realize you're doing that. But your attackers, I have responded when they attacked some patrons. I responded when they attacked the French embassy, if you remember very well, because there I cannot be seen as a president of the union keeping quiet when you are attacking a proper stakeholder to put things in line. And I'll only respond with a fact, and I'll stop there. If you continue, those are yours. Those will not be responded to.
Okay.
Yeah. So I believe there is a need for more dialogue. If this sort like what you put up there, ask the president. If it is a hashtag and it is a real genuine ask the president thing, like I'm here for this interview, I'll be able to give information in that channel in my capacity. Okay. But I can't just give it a blanket on a whole platform. Yeah.
Okay. So player unionization. Of course, with everything that has been happening now, there have been so many of the players now advocating for that, so many of the fans pressuring the players to advocate for that. Two particular names have come out, and that is Cyrus Wathum and Isaac Rujumba.
Player what?
Player unionization.
Okay.
Players making a players union.
Okay.
So I want to know what your thoughts are on that, especially going forward as we're trying to build this game of rugby.
I honestly, in my own opinion, I have no issues with that at all. I support it. As long as they have the right focus, the right attitude. They are not starting it as a rebellion group, as maybe what they call opposition in governments. No, it is something adding value to the setting we are in, the environment we are in, and ensuring that players, at least that small grievance we are not heard, can be heard, and action is done. 5-6 years ago, I think I proposed that at the EXCOM. We need a player representative at the top level, and that is similar to what a player union is. So if the union is going to only look for issues, allowance, and complaint, the union can come and say, as the players, we can talk to AAR to give us insurance, but we need support from your union. That is the kind of thing I'm talking about. They should only look at only the negative. They look at the positive and how to grow. So I fully support that player union agreement, rather idea, fully.
Yeah, so, and then of course, in all this, the under-20 girls are scheduled to be traveling to Cape Town, I think, in September. But they have been short of some funds, I think, to the tune of 26 million and some change on there. And of course, this has come at a time when I think funds have been given certain information, and many of them do not seem like they want to respond or to positively partake in that. The one clear question that came was that wasn't this endeavor or this engagement known prior to its committing to it? Second, with the money that has been availed or the money that is there, can't it handle such a thing? Why do you want more money from us when you're not even paying the players? And this is me just reporting the sentiment that's on.
So this, you see, now that's the thing with funds. I don't know who is a fan in this case, because when we go to government to ask for money, or we go to now special to ask for money, or Plascon or KCB, will you regard the KCB a robot, a fan? Because the person seated in that position making a decision to give money to is a person, is a fan, right?
Yeah.
So why for them they ask in a different capacity? You get my point?
Yeah. That's
one. Two is, why would they look at the fundraiser as something different from looking for sponsorship? Two, we have seen big platforms in the world called GoFundMe. These are fundraiser platforms. There are so many people who say they want to help, but they don't have an avenue of what? Of helping. This is one of them. Why do they look at this as a, Now, this is why. Because in their mindset, they have something that the union has got a lot of money from the rugby stakeholders, government, World Rugby, Nile. Why are they telling us to fund these things? The activities have grown. We have so many. This activity was not part of the year's plan. This is one of those that has abruptly been set up, and those that can jump on it will get the advantage. By World Rugby, Uganda under 20 girls being chosen. You know how struggle with the senior to get back into the top tier. And you have to ask for strategy. We are now saying we need to not miss this chance for the under 20. They are the girls for the next 2 years. That being said, 26 million being collected, can it fly them there?
No.
Can it pay for the visas?
No.
Can it pay for their medical and allowances, food and stuff? The bill we have actually is 170 million shillings, minus the passports. Because most of these girls don't have passports. On the whole squad, only two have.
Only two have.
Only two. So we are trying to raise some money to also fix their passports. You get it?
Yeah.
But the air tickets alone are 114 million. You get it? Now, this is not on the activity plan for any funding.
That is something that has been covered.
We are going to we are looking, as EXCOM, we are looking for it to also cover it. So if we place the whole problem, I think members would be quiet and say, it's okay. So you just place a smaller problem.
I get what you're saying.
And on top of that, the 2 sevens teams are supposed to be there next weekend.
Yeah.
That is the men and women, and that's the second side, because it's a preparation camp. So we're not only looking at the under 20 who are 30, we're looking at the 30 for the senior sevens. So it's not activities have grown. Preparation is something people forget. For you to present that Uganda team at Africa Cup, you know what they went through and how much could that cost. Starting from Victoria Cup, send them to Tunisia, send them to camp in South Africa, over $1 billion. That is preparation. That is preparation. Then you have a seemingly performing team on the ground. Now the reviewer will only say, just $100. But if you divide the money you've spent on that team per player, and then you say, I have spent this amount of money on each player for the last 1 year.
Yeah.
It's like your child complaining that you're only giving them 10,000 shillings pocket money, but the grab box is full of grab. The clothes thingy is full of clothes, and you're transporting them to school and are paid school fees.
Yeah.
That is the thing.
Okay. What is the union's current position on age grade rugby? Of course, with from maybe tag rugby centers all the way to schools rugby, because they are, rugby is a sport that has so much grapevine, so many rumors here and there, and maybe back conversations. And the most consistent one is the fact that, not a fact, but the statement that the union is not giving so much support when it comes to age grade and regional.
Everything goes back to funding. So if I get Nile as a sponsor, it doesn't fund age grade.
Yes.
It is illegal.
Yes.
So how much accountability am I going to give them if I'm sneaking money off for age grade for their?
Yes.
How much? There has to be a deliberate way of getting proper financing for age grade, or partnerships that matter. You get it? Government funds are specific to an activity. You deviate it, you are in Uzira or Chitalia. If they give you funds for national 15s team to Nairobi, your accountability to them is the national 15s team to Nairobi, not national 15s team to Pretoria. That is how strict government funds are. Government is not yet giving us development money because they have channels of development, like in the USSA program. So what rugby has strategically done is position itself over and above its USRA program that has been running for years, is also position itself in the USSA program. These people are not following the rugby. As we speak now, about 7, 8 schools, boys, 6 girls have been participating in that East African tournament in Bukedia for over a week. You get it? So we have attached ourselves to that program as one of the ways, over and above the programs of USRA. The regional programs are heavily concentrated on age grade. That is why you find now more schools are in the regions than the central like it used to be. More. You go to Kisoro, you go to whatever, there are more. So for me, that is not an informed statement from whoever is saying it. They need to really look at what Dorothy is doing with her team. The age grade pass is a very big, priceless, selfless job that they are doing.
Okay, that's interesting. So before we get into a number of questions on that Ask the President thing that maybe we can address here, maybe the rest that come in later, you can look at them, and if you feel like addressing them on that platform, then it's upon you. But the one thing I want to say is how can we, or how can the leadership in the union support clubs to be able to be one, self-sustaining, and also be able to empower them to be able to get their own sponsors. And when I think of this particular question, I am thinking about at least our benchmark in Uganda. How can rugby reach the level of football, where a team like SC Villa has a budget of billions?
Our vision is to be the most popular sport.
Okay.
We are not yet. Our short-term vision was to be the second most popular sport by 2028, which we have achieved now, but not in a way of the financial manner. Because once you're popular, you get more funding. But that affects everybody in the line.
Yeah.
If you have the EXCOM coming up with a proper strategy, with a membership of, let's say, 40 clubs, but of the 40 clubs, only 10 of them are compliant. The other 30 are being run the way they want to run. In the past, you have seen us do audits that are performance-based, and we give money based on the audit. Something that the clubs initially fought. But we saw a difference in certain clubs that took it serious. Those audits were saying, governance, how are you doing it? Do you have an AGM? Do you have EXCOM meetings? Do you have minutes?
Yeah.
What are we trying to push? We are trying to push good governance. We would say, marketing, do you have a Facebook page, Twitter page? How many followers? We are pushing them. If you have, this is the amount of money you get. So that is a structure that is by the union, by the EXCOM, trying to push the clubs to build the capacity. Because the first biggest problem that clubs have, and with all due respect, is the commitment at their leadership level. And I cannot blame them much, because they also are volunteers that need to go and find a living. But if they are not fully committed and applying these good governance and performance-driven strategies, the clubs will not move. I'll give you an example. Pirates, 6 years ago, was struggling with other clubs like Legends. It had a strategy to get a home. You've seen how the home of Pirates has sprung up commercially.
Yes.
Our old facility and its members, Chadondo, you've seen what it can do, because it has a strategic plan to commercially be sustainable. You get my point? So the clubs alone have a responsibility through their membership and leadership to put capacity building and development as a priority. Then the union structures can just support, because the union is like a framework. Union is just like a framework. It's a road from Kabale to Kisoro. The clubs are the farmers within that area. Exactly. You get the point.
Yeah. So let's get into some of these questions. I see you're getting so many phone calls. Busy day for you. Just to address some of these concerns, if some of them haven't already been addressed anyway. We did put out, of course, a tweet. Ask the president, given the opportunity, what would you ask Uganda Rugby President Godwin Kayangwe And starting with the quoted ones, there is a gentleman who's very passionate. He sent in like 3 questions. His name is Jude Mugabe. First thing he talked about, asked the president to provide accountability on how the Uganda shillings 4 billion was raised, and most importantly, how it was utilized. We know that UGX 2.5 billion came from government. That's public money, and therefore the union should be accountable to the public. And there's a screenshot for you as well from NBS Sports on that.
Oh, account how it was raised. So now we also have to account how we raise the money.
How it was raised and how it was
Exactly,
utilized.
how it was raised.
Apparently, it is government money. That one you should tell the funds.
I said it would cost us about 4 billion. So for him, he's assuming it was fully raised. So Jude Mugabe wants to do a wedding, and his desire is 400 million budget, okay? But he realizes he has only raised 200 million. What does he do? Instead of buying Singleton, he will buy Bond 7.
About Bond 7 over.
So he will cut down on the budget.
Yeah.
And make it manageable.
Yeah.
So my statement there was, we'll need about to run this tournament. If we fail to raise it, we need to devise a means of how to manage within the situation. And the money we commit to, whether we have it or we don't have it, but it has been committed to. So in this case, I'll tell you that even if our ask was 2.5 billion shillings at government, before that time we entered the tournament, they had only committed to 2 billion. But within the time of the tournament, it was now 1.8 billion.
That was received?
No.
That was
committed.
To.
Of the 1.8, we've so far received 876 million. So we still have money we expect for the cause that we have finished. And government will pay. And that is what I was explaining to you earlier. Once you have committed, they will pay. Then you use that commitment to get people to support you to deliver the event. If you can't do that, then you should get out of business. If you cannot have something done because you have not received the money, then you should get out of business, because money doesn't work like that. If Parliament allocates you money, Parliament is not the one that makes this money. The money is made by you, the taxpayer. But you, the taxpayer, have raised little money. So finance has received little money. It will go back to Parliament and say, fine, you allocated this, but the actual money on the ground is this, is what we can give. So that is a back and forth that always happens in this business, which is understandable. Accountability issue, same thing I said earlier. There are channels on how we give accountability. Books of accounts have to be audited, books of accounts have to be ratified to be public matter. But if you're itching enough to see these things beforehand, walk into the HQ, where the accounts department is. You get it? And say, I want to see accountability. Introduce yourself nicely. And say, I would like to see please explain how you spend this money. Otherwise, we have channels. We have weekly expenditures. We have annual. We now actually agreed to do what is 6 months called. Not quarterly, 6 months. By annual accounts shared with members, then the actual accounts at the end of the year, which are audited first through our internal audit, then with the external audit. Now those are given to members. They're given to members, and members are the clubs and the facilities. Then the members pass them down to their members.
Don't you think that clubs hang you guys out to dry when I think they maybe receive some of this accountability and don't tell?
They don't share.
Yes,
it is possible. It's possible. But then what do? We have to continue explaining. You get it? I talked about this earlier. So he needs to know where he belongs as a stakeholder. Is he just a fan?
He's a fan of Pirates.
So if he's a member of Pirates, he needs to task his chairman. We have been told that you receive audited accounts every year. How come we have not seen them?
Fair enough.
But also, the office is open. Let him
Yes.
come. I say, for me particularly, I want to see how you spent 4 billion
Okay.
of Rugby Africa.
Okay.
He's not going to expect me to come here and I start saying, okay, 200 million went to this, 50 million went to... Is that what he
As
wants?
if a wedding meeting.
Is that what he wants? No, tell him to come, Bambi. Let him come. There's no problem.
Yeah.
The office is open.
Benon Goa is saying the union.
He said he had 3 questions.
He had 3, but they are all around
All the same
accountability.
place.
Yeah. Benon Goa is saying that the union should stop harassing players to shield the National Council of Sports from bothersome critics. As chairperson of the appeals committee, President Godwin Kayangwe upheld the disciplinary committee's decision to punish Ivan Magom for denouncing Dr. Ogwell on his X account. There was no question, it's just a statement.
As chairperson of the appeals committee, meaning the committee has other people.
Yes.
I'm just the chair. So people need to understand that the Constitution of Uganda Rugby Union does not give a chair of any committee sole powers to make a decision, but gives it to the committee as a whole. The chairs of committees and even ex-commers only have a casting vote in the event of a balanced argument. You get it? So if there's no balanced argument, you have no business casting the determining vote. You understand? That is something they don't understand. So when they hear you're the chair, what they think that you can decide for him he should be banned or not banned. That's not the case. There are other people that are listening to the matter. All of us are, and the decision is made collectively. You get my point?
Yeah.
What was his statement again?
Then
We are not shielding
yes,
National
shielding
Council of Sports. What do you call it? You call it
bothersome critics.
critics. No, we are not shielding. We are working within our domain. We have nothing to do with National Council of Sport, apart from the fact that they are regulators of the sector, and they are the vote where we get funding from government as top of regulator. They have what we referred to is Uganda Rugby Union Constitution, Africa Rugby, World Rugby. End of story. Not National Council of Sport.
Okay. Another one. The most funny thing is one of the most common things that is on this particular thread is, won't we get in trouble? Won't we put the game in disrepute? That's what many of the fans and some players are saying. If they ask or comment, won't they put the game in trouble or in disrepute? So it might come sarcastically, but that's a general now fear that is amongst people. They don't know what they can do. They feel like they are muzzled and they can't express themselves.
I think they are just taking the situation out of control. To be honest, just any other situation that has happened, discipline case, that can be either correct or wrong, but has to go, like I said in the beginning, has to go through the systems and rejuvenated. But they are looking at it as a deliberate move to intimidate, threaten. You know, many of these people, I'm sure, do not know the history. You get it? They are just looking at it like, hey, but these people are wrong, because of the way it has been presented by many different people on the platform. Yeah.
Someone is saying that URU got 570 million for the sevens, and winner of sevens gets 1 million for each circuit, which doesn't add up. 2-day tournaments for 1 million is a joke. Accountability needed, again, in needs of courts of public opinion.
I do not know whether it is 570. I need to find out, but I think it's 270. Is it 270? I don't know if it is.
Normally, how this
but you
sponsorship
see,
money?
that one I did not have figures. But what happens is, those are the same thing I was saying about under 20. Those are circuit wins. Circuit wins for both men and women and MVPs. There is overall prize money when you finish the 7 circuits.
Yes.
Number 1, number 2, which all the clubs actually get a figure, but the highest being the number 1. It's part of it.
Have those figures been communicated?
Those figures should be communicated. They should be. You can get that information from HQ as well. 2, These up country, even the local circuits now are being subsidized because the games start early in terms of transport and accommodation.
Yes.
So these people, for them, when they see 1 million, that's all they look at. They forget that accommodation was paid. Costas were paid. Referees have to be accommodated. And also given transport. Because you can't send a referee to Gulu. If you miss out the allowance, like they might say, you can't miss out transport and how will they go? So when they look at the sponsorship figure, can they think a bit wider and out of the box and know that there is other costs that are very major for these tournaments to happen?
Interesting.
The same example I gave you about your son. If you give your son pocket money of 10,000, feels bad, forgets that the grab case is full, suitcase is full, you are fueling the car to drive him, and you are paid school fees. That is the example I gave you.
Okay. There are about 4 comments asking for your resignation. Many of which are saying that let the sport be run by people that love it. How much do you run the game? Or what is your response to someone asking for your resignation?
But are they the ones who appointed me? You ask them if they're the ones who appointed me. Also, they should learn the system. They should know how I got into power and how I can get out. And follow the what? The procedure. But not that I run the sport so much.
Yeah.
From my explanation the whole day, you've seen that there is a lot of people.
You know,
and I'm not even involved in a lot of these decisions.
One thing I've come to realize is people don't understand sometimes the level of service that is in this game. Maybe you can just quickly highlight the different roles you've had ever since you started taking service in the game.
I can't. That one I think I cannot because I don't know where to start and where to end. Maybe I highlight.
You talked about being a team manager for Pirates.
All the roles different. I was a player. Okay, I was a captain in school. I was a team manager for Pirates. I was a team manager for Bamburi. I was a team manager for national team 15s. I was a team manager for national team 7s. As a committee member, you are you. Secretary, you are you. President term 1, president term 2. I'm now going.
Not Sanja.
I'm tired also me. I need to go and do. I need to give my personal life more time. You see, I think I have served.
Yeah.
Let them come and serve a bit. Let them put their hand up. At least even in their clubs, serve. We shall support them. Yeah. Okay. And get into the line. And so from the time I was, let's say, team manager, 2010, 2009 to now is how many years?
2009 to now. 2009, 2029, that is 10 years.
2019 is 10 years.
Yes, 2019 is 10 years. Then you add 4 years. 5 actually. Those are how many? 15.
15. I'll have served 15 years.
Serve 30 years.
No.
Anyway.
You see, these people here should come and serve.
Yes.
Yeah. They should come and serve. So we are paving way for them to come and serve. Only one advice to them. They need to be open to support. They need to be open to support. You've seen that in my term, all the previous presidents have appeared on one event or another.
Yes.
What does that tell you? I consult heavily. And it is showing you that they are supporting what we are doing. So also those guys who want to come, those who are asking me to resign, they need to allow. Otherwise they will drop. They will drop badly out of experience. They cannot manage. They need to allow to receive free information from the experienced patrons.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last question that had ideally made us laugh previously was one of course, in every Ugandan, there are those that are just out there for vibes. The person said, how many chapatis can you finish?
I don't know what it means by chapatis. Chapati is what? Is wheat or maize?
Chapati.
It's made out of what? Wheat.
Yes. Flour.
So is he asking how many beers can I take?
No.
Because beer is also made out of wheat. I don't know. If I find them, maybe 2. If I find them, maybe 2. Yeah.
But anyway,
That question is tricky. He might have been asking how many beers I can take.
do you have a particular answer for that one?
Beers, I don't take much. Maybe 4. I take other things. Yeah.
So, what, of course, now we are into the final part of the year. What should we expect, or what should the fans expect from the union, and what is being planned for rugby?
Well, the activity plan is simple. The sevens are going on. The national circuit is going on. There will be Uganda Cup sometime of season. Then internationally, we have, of course, the preparation for next year Challenger Series. Sevens are going to say under 20 girls also preparing for next year. And the 7 girls are going to Tunisia. No, is it Morocco? Morocco. For their Africa Cup, like the one the guys did in Mauritius. We have Aegon Cup along the way. We have the Tunisia Tests home games. The return, like the one we did there. Along the way, we are still discussing Victoria Cup, but Aegon Cup, I think the dates have been mentioned somewhere. I need to be
2nd
sure.
and 9th November.
Yeah, it's a lot of rugby set up. And if we are not focused, we might dip a bit because we need to fix these backlogs financially and also sort the activity that is left for the year. And the problem with the rugby now, even in Jan, it just starts. So there's no time to rest.
Yeah.
And it is action all through. Since we started in Jan, have we rested? Action
Actually,
all
when
through.
do you guys get time off?
And you see, like I told you, we do our other work. We spend most of the time on our other work because otherwise we wouldn't survive. You see. So it is really difficult. It is a big sacrifice. Very big sacrifice. You see, you've seen how hard it is to get me for an interview. Not because I don't want, but the times you want me are the times I'm also now running on my own what? On my own things. So yeah, there's a lot of rugby going to happen. It's crazy. There's a lot of rugby.
In all this, how can women's rugby be supported more? Or what's the plan to support women's rugby?
The plan is evident. We have seen what we are doing for women's rugby over the years. So for me, that question needs to change narrative into why don't we do this to push women's rugby? That not why can it be supported more? We got it from nowhere to where it is. The women can attest. If you see Thunderbirds is able to host an international level standard tournament, 2-day sevens. If you see the national team sevens girls on contract, same as the men, same figure, payee and NSSF. If you see you discussing sending under 20 to South Africa, first of its kind, how do I answer that question? Okay. We just need to continue the struggle to be better.
What your legacy as a leader in rugby? What would you like to be remembered as, or what do you want to be remembered for? That's
a hard question, but
I was having a discussion with Edwin, and I don't know if my facts are accurate, but I was actually saying that you might be the most successful URU president that we have had in terms of achievements, of course, in some welfare for the players and also what has been achieved on the pitch. I mean, we have a Rugby Africa Cup 2022, Rugby Africa Cup 2024 sevens, the women as well, Safari sevens, and also just making sure that all these players on contract. There was a dip in the 15s, but the 15s resurgence. We have had Rugby Africa Cup being hosted. We have another one next year. So, and among other things that are probably forgotten. But I want to hear from you what you think maybe your highlights are, and what do you think will be that one thing you'd love to be remembered by?
I think the next time you host me, I'll be able to answer that because I didn't. Yeah, it's you've mentioned them actually. You've answered
need to
it
think
for me.
about it properly.
Yeah, but because I've been concentrating in moving the game, not really. I'm being a servant for the game. Yeah. That's why you see the other question he asked me. I don't have time to respond to naysayers because there's just too much stress trying to push the next. I'm responding to a naysayer. This side, someone is calling me saying that a certain team is stuck on the road to Kisoro for a sevens tournament.
Yeah.
Yet I'm this side, responding to a naysayer. So I've not had time to really look and think about that. But our strategy has been pushing us in a direction that other people can actually see those achievements. In terms of legacy, I think one thing I came in office with is clear was to try to move away from the amateur position to a semi-pro position as a whole, not just one team or the other. Noticing that sport is a business, like my friend says, Herbert Mensah, we share the same sentiment. Everyone in the sport need to earn from what they are putting in.
Yes.
Is where we want to go. But there are people who have to be collateral, who have to sacrifice to get there. Even some people before our time sacrificed. They never saw. The William Bricks of this world. They come there and you see them enjoying the game. They're like, this is where we wanted to be.
A Moses Joshua situation.
You get it? But now, they can only enjoy. So even us, in 10 years, we shall be enjoying the semi-pro position. But we have to start it at this point. The other one, compared, which Edwin said, to the first president, maybe tell him that I might be the first president to lead the union for 8 years. Let him consider that. Maybe I've had a longer time. You see? Because my predecessor did 6. The constitution changed around that time. It used to be two years. 2 years per term. So he did only 1 term for 4, meaning he did 6. My first term was 4, second term is 4. So maybe I'll be the one who has had the longest time. And that's why. But I don't want to be compared with my predecessors.
But if the people in that you serve with ask you to stand again,
it will not happen. It won't happen.
It won't happen.
No. They have asked me several times. They keep saying it. Maybe they are trying me. They are trying to see if I have the plan, but no.
Are you already aware of any potential replacements that maybe? I think it would be a good thing to have the incumbent mentor some of those people that are getting in.
Yeah, and it's in so many ways. You see, like if you've realized, my style has been letting people work. You get it? These committees you've seen working, you find that Africa Cup, very few people could call chairman, me president. They were looking for chairman. You get it? So you find in different places you empower different people. You have strong people in the ExCom who are capable to take over me, the current ExCom. Very strong, capable. You even have other strong people on the outside who have been organizing these things that are capable of taking over. So I think the condition we have set, we should not have an issue with who is the replacement and if we are able to take on the mantle.
Do you think the current voting system that we have in rugby fully reflects the interests of the different rugby people or the different rugby stakeholders?
This, and with no offense, but if you changed it, you will get the wrong people in office. If you want all these people to vote, then you will never get the right people in the office. It's not yet at the level of government where you have millions of people making lines behind or putting in a vote to say this is a person we want. It's a different level of politics. The stage at which rugby is and where it has to go, it needs to have the leaders of the different cohorts represent their constituencies to vote. We are not at the level where, even World Rugby, you don't find all unions. Now, Africa, we have 2 we have 2 votes. South Africa has 3. You know, they separate South Africa from Africa, which is bad. So the rest of Africa has 2. South Africa alone has 3. It's not the same.
Anyway.
Imagine it's like FIFA, which every federation has a FIFA. Every federation has a vote. In rugby, it's not like that. Even at World Council, they have categorized. They have said New Zealand 3, Australia 3, South Africa 3, England 3, France 3. Then regions, Africa 2, Asia 2.
Now I wonder what happens in the Pacific Islands.
The 2. It's a region. There are 6 regions. 2.
Okay. As a rugby president, a rugby union president, are you allowed to have a team you support?
Yes. There's no problem.
Which team do you support?
I don't support in the local league. Of course, I sympathize with Pirates because I come from there. Even for me to be a president, they ask me the constitution, I need to be nominated by my club. So Pirates nominates me. I cannot run away from it. But to manage, again, these people who make noise on social media, you can't be seen to wear a Pirates shirt as a president of Uganda on a Pirates game versus Cubs. You're just managing the masses. Yes, I have my Pirates shirts, all of them. When I'm done with the presidency, I'll put them back on. But right now, I need to be impartial. But that is my constituency. That's where I come from.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you, last question, or second last, but how do you interact, how can I phrase this question very well so that it comes out well? How often do you interact with other union presidents, say Fufa's, Mr. Magogo?
Or the ones in Uganda.
Yes,
But,
maybe even the ones international.
internationally, in rugby, a lot. I'm on very many forums. I'm on a few committees on the international scene. So I interact a lot on the rugby side. In Uganda, other disciplines, I also interact with quite a number because I'm also in Uganda Olympic Committee as a board member, which has 31 federations. National Council 32, National Council 51. We meet every 4 months officially with the minister as federation heads. We interact. Yeah. So I do. Boxing is my friend, table tennis is my friend, basketball, cricket, swimming, rowing. All those are on my speed dial.
I didn't even know
Shooting.
there was rowing in Uganda.
Kathleen is from where?
Eh?
Kathleen, who represented us. Yeah, shooting. You know we have shooting. This the horse guys. All those are my people that I interact with.
Okay. That's interesting. And
I think I even brought a few of them to some games, gymnastics. There's a game I think we held in last game last year. There were about 6. No, it was at Legends. That last game. There were about 6 presidents from different federations on that game.
Okay. Any last words from you for the people that are going to be watching this?
I think what I need to say, this whole thing, and because I really appear on these shows, so maybe whenever I come, there's too much questions asked and it's all over the place. But I think the gist of the matter for me to the fans, players, all the stakeholders is to remain a state of calm and trust and hope that we, the people you put in position to lead, are actually sober and know what exactly is going on. There might be challenges, but there's no cause for alarm. Everything is going to come to a normalized situation. So I urge that instead we encourage, especially our players, to keep focused, to know that things are only going to get better and there's much more opportunity. The executive committee that you have behind you is one that is very committed, one that is very experienced all the way from playing and actually know how a player feels, how management feels, and how the situation is. Some of these challenges are because we are trying to get to the next level, and we request for your utmost support and patience and belief that things will be better. Thank you very much.
I think when we meet you the next time, we shall talk about what's next for Godwin, Kayangwe. For now, let us let that be. Let us let you marinate on that. But it's been a good conversation. Eye-opening on a number of things as we try to uncover facts from all the stakeholders. A lot of things have been happening in rugby, and our responsibility is to bring candid conversations for everyone. Special thanks, of course, to our partners, Gardens Nigeria, for this wonderful space, serene, nice breeze, and for everyone that just needs to have a sit down and have a drink, feel free to check in, and also feel free to indulge on their various theme nights. For Nile Special as well, always supporting us and helping us to make sure that we deliver all this to you. We do appreciate. And of course, to the team that is behind all this, of course, making sure that everything is put out in real time. It's also an amazing experience. Special thanks to you, President, for giving us the time, because we know you're a very busy man with everything that's going on. And of course, my name is Ruben Kihumuro of the Fat Cats podcast. Make sure you leave us any feedback that you feel like is necessary, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Cheers.
Thanks for listening in. Share with us your thoughts from today's episode, and don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.